Hi everyone. Our presentation is about Journey to Inclusion and our team members are Hawa Hamid, Hadija Mohammed, Ahmed Zamra and Rauna Ramiz. Before we start, let's see how the inclusive education has begun. Many legislative and societal changes occurred during the year 1960s and 1970s, which had a great influence on inclusion. For example, the way people treat and their attitudes toward people with disabilities. However, inclusive education appeared initially in late 1980s by the court case of V. Rowley. Rowley was a deaf student whose school refused to provide a sign language interpreter. Looking into inclusive model, inclusion is where the educational institution should accommodate the individual's aptitudes and needs in the best possible manner with both a process and a goal. The quotation justifies that the inclusive education should be catered in all schools with individual differences. This involves diversity, adaptation, accommodation, and modification. The diagram here, the circle of inclusion, gives a brief explanation of how the inclusive education should be catered. For example, learning objectives should be based on diverse needs. Instructional style should remove the barriers to learning, such as providing differentiated instructions or universal design for learning. In the same way, assessment should be based on according to the student learning style.
Segregation model. Segregation means the action or state of setting someone or something apart from others. Segregation in special education. Focus on independence and being self-supporting. Focusing on employment skill means that in some kids get substandard education. It also means that some school districts disable children clean the cafeteria, wash dishes, wipe tables, and collect recycling. Separation. Keeping disabled kids from non-disabled kids isn't about protecting kids from destruction in it. It is about protecting kids from disability. It teaches kids at an early age that disabled people are different and it legitimizes systematic inclusion. Protection. One study found that abusive behavior was an acknowledged aspect of life in elementary and secondary special education schools. But abusive behavior was not apparent to any extent in inclusive schools.
Comparisons of segregation model in school A. If we look closely at school A, it's a classic example of segregation in our education system. School A has the whole SEN unit under a different roof, completely separate from mainstream classrooms. This is the most visible clue. It shows how segregated students with special needs are in school A. In school A, students with special needs follow a different school timing, which won't allow them to mingle with the mainstream students, and they also follow a different academic content or a different syllabus. Since the Ministry of Education has implemented the policy of inclusion in all Maldivian schools, I would say that Ministry is at fault, as school has been following this system since they started their SEN unit.
I'll be looking at some of the assistive technology and adaptive tools for inclusion. The visual schedules, more visual teaching aids like more hands-on materials, audio recorders, human aids such as a shadow or a body, table lamps, laptops and other writing support materials like grippers, jumbo pens or pencils, raised line sheets, calculators, seat cushions, and reading guides such as reading rulers, large text sheets, colored transparency sheets as well. Other than this, teachers can also use assistive tools according to the students' learning needs. Conclusion. So according to the points mentioned above in the previous slides, with the help of collaboration within the school community, integration and the assistive tools, we will be able to work towards inclusion and create a more welcoming environment to all the students with diverse learning needs. Thank you.